The position of women in FIGU equivalence. Equality and equal rights are supreme principles of the FIGU Association, as well as the spiritual teaching, Creation Energy Teaching, by Hans-Georg Lanzendorfer, Switzerland.
It is a very evil bad habit of men on this and other worlds to regard members of the female sex as their personal property, as subjects, inferior, or as second-class human beings. This is an indescribable disrespect and terrible disregard for respectable women. Women are the living proof of strength, power, patience, endurance, frugality, etc. It is through them that new life is created. It is the women who endure months-long restrictions from pregnancy and often unspeakable pain in the birth of a new human life. Through this willingness, the woman enables the creative, tiny fragment of spirit form to reincarnate into a new human body. This is an indescribably majestic and creational act of supreme evolution, in which ultimately also rests a meaning of life. Mothers are of inestimable value in the cycle of becoming and passing away, of birth and life, from dying to death, life in infinite sequence. This very special task of the female sex is an indescribable, supreme achievement that could never be evaluated by any human standards or rewarded by material values. As bearers, women make possible the evolution of the creation for its own perfection, which is fulfilled with the help of human beings in their consciousness-based and spiritual evolution. It lies in the nature of human beings that women are absolutely equal to the male sex in every respect. Without the consciousness-based, psychic, and physical evolutionary support of women, men would be helplessly lost and threatened with extinction. This circumstance is hidden in the quintessence of the spiritual teaching of the prophet Billy Edward Albert Meyer, and is an essential part of the thinking, feeling, and consciousness of the FIGU members. Another bad habit of the men of different cultures is also to degrade women to the sum of their sexual charms and to banish them as worthless in case of childlessness. Such as well as innumerable other misogynistic excesses are combated by the members of FIGU in their publications, as well as by Billy in the spiritual teaching, Creation Energy Teaching, and his writings. Man and woman equally bear the high values of self-responsibility and the fulfillment of their evolutionary purpose of existence. As these values were placed by creation in the destiny of the being form Omedum, women and men are Omedum as equal human beings. As learners and law fulfillers in the creation, they are neutral and without any division or subdivision into female or male. The human beings of both sexes fulfill the tasks of consciousness-based psychic and spiritual evolution. In equality and according to the creational order and condition of their sex, they participate in procreation and in the psychic and consciousness-based preservation of the human species. Their equal union is a perfect act of creation for the creation of new fleshly bodies, the balancing of their psychic and consciousness-based potencies, and thereby serves the preservation and evolution of human life, and thus ultimately the creation itself. This evolutionary task and creational purpose of human life forms finds its fulfillment in marriage, a marriage-like community of life, a partnership or a friendship, which is of course based on the equal value and equality of all participants. The equivalence. Equality of rights and equity are also the basis of a shared approach to everyday life and living, of raising offspring and caring for families together, as well as of the psyche, love, and consciousness of human beings. Equality and equal value, respect, and esteem for each other also form the basic attitude of the female and male members of FIGU for living together and working together in the Simya Se Silver Star Center in Hinterschmidruti. However, the knowledge of the equal value of men and women does not exclude conflicts among the members in the FIGU either, which is why all members still have a lot to learn in this regard, for which Billy's teaching and work are very helpful. Where human beings live and work together, disagreements and differences inevitably arise. Dealing with otherness, the opposite sex, foreign views, or other opinions is active learning and thus evolution. The greatness of true human beings is also shown in their culture of dispute and conflict. So also the members of both sexes in the FIGU are not immune to confrontations with each other. However, conflict solutions are not decided in the FIGU on the basis of gender, but on the basis of the facts, actualities, and the truth at hand. Contrary to unjust earthly customs, however, the equal value of men and women is cultivated in the legal practice in the FIGU Association, and the female FIGU member is not discriminated against in any wise, even in conflict situations, which Billy always keeps a watchful eye on and also advises on. Man and woman form an evolutionary community without any judgmental differences regarding better or worse, more important or less important, bigger or smaller. This is also the essential core of the spiritual teaching, creation energy teaching, the teaching of the earthly prophet of modern times, Billy Edward Albert Meyer. This attitude also corresponds to the life and thinking manner of all members of the FIGU Association, even if much still needs to be learned in this respect. However, the female gender or the female FIGU members of the core group of the 49 or the passive group are not discriminated against or disregarded by all true FIGU members, neither in thinking nor in acting, but also not in any other wise, even if some interpersonal relationships once give cause for inconsistencies in behavior. If this occurs, then the necessary clarifying and unifying steps are taken to settle everything as quickly as possible without actual quarrels arising from it, which would lead to real discord and irreconcilability. So it must be said, where there are human beings, there are always human problems. This cannot be avoided because every human being is an individual with his or her own views, hopes, needs, wishes, and opinions. This is also the case in the FIGU, both with the female and male members. If it were not so, then it would be abnormal and something would be wrong. Consequently, it is therefore unavoidable that problems and differing opinions also appear in the FIGU, which ultimately have to be solved by rationality and logic. It is then only a question of how these problems are solved and how the balance is restored. The equality of men and women, however, must not be equated with equalization. Men and women certainly have honorable differences in their thinking, in their feelings, and in their fine spiritual perceiving, as well as in their actions, deeds, and doings. However, these gender-specific differences must also be accorded the respect they deserve. Respectful regard, recognition, and acknowledgement of existing differences between men and women are very important factors of the equality of both sexes. Thus, it is the supreme duty and task of the men and women of FIGU, as it should be for all human beings on this planet and on other worlds, to become aware of this fact in order to learn from it the concerns about the equality of man and woman, because the principle of equality is hidden in the creational nature of Omedim, to which all human life forms of the entire world space are subordinated. Many worlds are characterized by thousands of years of oppression of women by the majority of men. This attitude of domination over women has become deeply imprinted in the consciousness of the male world. Such aggressive impulses usually apply in minor forms, perhaps here and there, also to those men who are a commendable exception. For this reason, it is also one of the supreme duties of the male members in the FIGU Association to become aware of these possible and long-established false thoughts on a daily basis and to transform them into lived equality and equal rights in accordance with Billy's teaching, which is also the teaching of the FIGU. Likewise, it is the duty of all women to become aware of this age-old fact of the suppression of their gender. In millennia of tradition of oppression, many women have become sufferers of their oppression and their supposedly unchangeable fate, which is why in modern times they must first relearn their independence, their self-confidence, and their female right and become aware again of the equal value and equality of their gender vis-a-vis men. It is an important and great task of the female FIGU members to communicate these concerns to their female gender comrades worldwide. In the FIGU Association, the learning and implementation of equality and equal rights are applied by the members. On the one hand, through self-knowledge, personal search and research, and on the other hand, through the help of the prophet Billy Edward, Albert Meyer in everyday life, to the best of their ability and knowledge, even if this does not work to the full extent here and there and still needs Billy's instruction. With a good conscience. However, it can be said that the whole thing is slowly but surely taking on better and better forms, and that equality and equal rights, as well as the equal value of women in the FIGU Association, is actually finding a healthy realization. Each member of FIGU has one electoral vote, regardless of whether they are a female or a male member. The views and opinions of the members are not put on the scale of gender. Any proposals, advice, indications, or questions of any kind will be treated equally and will therefore be equally taken into account. In the business and negotiations of the FIGU, the equal value and equal rights of male and female members do not have to be explicitly discussed as a special issue in the FIGU because they are undisputed and are naturally taken for granted. However, the equality of the sexes is not the same as equality with regard to natural differences between men and women, which naturally cannot be changed. There are, for example, gender-specific rights and entitlements that are naturally reserved for one sex or the other. Women have the specific right to bear offspring, while the male part is normally responsible for the procreation of life. The division of roles for work within the FIGU is not so much based on the gender of the member, but rather on the respective ability, skills, knowledge, and capacity for the task to be done. It is obvious that the female members are not called upon for the heaviest physical tasks, such as lifting loads, etc., which could endanger their health. There is no menial work for women in the FIGU because the work of each individual female member is equally valued and appreciated as that of the male FIGU members. Doing a job is a necessary part of the whole being of FIGU. Every female member is also free to undertake heavy work if she is able to do so on the basis of her physical constitution and wishes to carry out such work of her own free will. Conversely, the men of the FIGU are not too shy to do all the work in the household because men also do the necessary work in the household just as women do. This applies to cooking as well as washing up and general cleaning work, etc. As far as rights and duties are concerned, no distinction is made between men and women when they become members of the free community of interests. The female members of the core group of the 49 are placed on an equal footing with the same duties as men, such as Sunday duties, working days, meditations, cleaning duties, correction work, kitchen duties, visitor duties, or night watch, etc. The spiritual teaching, creation energy teaching, is genderless and neutral. It is therefore neither male nor female. Access to the FIGU Association is open to every female as well as every male life form, as long as he or she fulfills the necessary requirements according to the FIGU statutes. The teaching or the knowledge and wisdom of the spiritual teaching are accessible to women in exactly the same and unchanged form as to men. The same applies to the women or men of foreign planets who are interested in the spiritual teaching, creation energy teaching, if the teaching is taught on foreign worlds. The equality of men and women is a creational recommendation. The teaching of the prophet of the modern times, Billy Edward Albert Meyer, finds its way out of theory into the reality of everyday life through the FIGU Association. It is up to the open-minded and understanding human beings not to throw the shining pearls and high values of the equal value and equality of man and woman before the swine. The spiritual teaching, creation energy teaching, is based on the perfect freedom, peace, harmony, love, and self-responsibility of human beings. The freedom, self-responsibility, and self-duty fulfillment include respect and reverence for all life. This respect refers to all life forms of the entire world space and is also shown in the respect for the equality of the sexes. The members of the FIGU Association are confronted with the spiritual teaching, creation energy teaching, on a daily basis, be it through correctional or everyday work in the center, or through the personal teaching and conversations with Billy, the prophet of the modern age. The work and commitment of the female members in the FIGU Association are nevertheless respected and highly valued, just like the work and commitment of the male members. The association can only fulfill its mission and mandate as a unity of positive and negative. Therefore, the unrestricted and respectful cooperation among the members of different genders is of great importance for the common achievement of goals. The equality of the sexes, that is to say of men and women, must be translated into reality by all FIGU members on a daily basis and must grow more and more in the consciousness of each individual. But this also applies to all human beings on the earth. Otherwise, even the high teaching of the modern prophet will again deteriorate into a farce and ultimately lose its value as pure theory in cult religious and sectarian heresies. Therefore, the members of FIGU put all their efforts into the realization and everyday implementation of these important concerns of equal rights and equal value of its female and male members. Men and women of all worlds and planets of the entire world space can only survive as an equal community in peace, harmony, and love. And the valuable and great work of FIGU can only bear good and valuable fruit one day if the female and male members work together in equality and equivalence and respect each other in equality. Everything must be as Billy teaches and is exemplified in the FIGU Association and described in the instructive scripture, in Canon 32, verse 2200. 1,000 men may prepare a camp, but to make a home, it needs the women.